And actually, in both Sabah and Sarawak, we've seen this in the last 50 years. Both Sabah and Sarawak, all the past resources in the state is centered on one seat to try to make the breakthrough. So it's Beting Maru, the seat in Sarawak, that is where PAS has been focusing solely on, and it is Karambudai in Sabah where they're focusing on. So it wouldn't surprise me, although we don't have data on that here, how many PAS supporters throughout the rest of Sabah, its the country, could have been slowly moving their voting location to this seat. PAS for sure has been working very hard on this seat, but I think it's a mix of it's working very hard, and it also got lucky with the split fight.
Yeah.
So this may be a short-lived victory. If the next round election, it comes down to a two-horse race. Everyone goes into two big alliance, a Warisan alliance and a GRS alliance, and we don't have 11 corner fight, or let alone even 4 corner fights. I think it'll be difficult for PAS to continue to take the seat.
Yeah.
And mind you, now PAS is going to run the seat as an opposition party.
Alright, welcome back to another episode of Are We OK Season 2, and I'm Peter.
Hey, I'm Rajiv.
Yeah, and we are going to bring to you public policies and current issues that are understandable for the man in the street, like Dr. Baba always say, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And today we definitely have something very exciting to talk about.
I think today is basically going to come down to the Sabah elections. So, we're recording this on Monday, just like 2 days after the election.
Yes.
Less than 48 hours after the results are out.
Fresh and hot.
I think it's quite an impactful election, quite an impactful result that sent shockwaves not just in Sabah, but over here in KL as well, also and throughout the country. How did you find the elections, Peter?
So I think the first thing that appeared on my feed was DAP lost all seats.
Yes, I think that was the bigger result. It's the won.
Yes. That has been overtaking all my feeds rather than the result of Sabah.
Yes. Maybe we not know the name of the new chief minister.
Yes. Or who other people want.
But the DAP lost all, I think.
So in fact, the first thing I wanted to do is give you a call. Hey, Rajiv.
You got connected to much bigger fish in DAP. You can call them too.
So I'm really quite excited to find out more about how DAP has responded, how's the sound on the ground as well from you. But maybe before that, Rajiv, you want to take the lead and share with us what's the result and summarize it for us.
Alright, so I think as everyone expected, it was hung elections, like no party won outright. So the two biggest winners in terms of seats is GRS and Warisan. So GRS with 29 seats, Warisan with 25 seats. In fact, it's not surprising. This is what I kind of expected. These are the two largest Sabah blocks, Sabah-based parties that are pushing for the Sabah or Sabah agenda, and maybe trying to replicate what Sarawak has with GPS. But the fact is, unlike Sarawak with GPS, in Sabah you have two large blocks fighting out for support, and it wouldn't have been easy for any of them to cross 37. I think that was quite a foregone conclusion. Looking at 14 corner fights, 10 corner fights, 11 corner fights everywhere, anything could have happened. But for any one party to cross 37, I think was always a challenge. So BA has contributed to shrink down to 6 seats now. But at least it was 6 seats. DAP shrunk to 0, PKR 1. Amanat yet to win the seat, but this is also not really their strength, Sabah. I think the other big surprise besides DAP's one was the fact that PAS won over seats.
Yes.
Giving Perikatan its sole seat. In fact, the rest of Bersatu in Sabah did not win any seat. I think that also confirms, all the LVC's chatter, the pre-fight banter among parties. PN was kind of left out of it. You have the Warisan, jabbing at GRS jabbing at Warisan, a lot of Sabah parties jabbing at Peninsula, West Malaysian politics, national leaders. But PM was quite out of it. And I think it shows in the results that PM is no longer a force to be reckoned in Sabah. They did well in 2020. The meeting was the Prime Minister, but since the formation of GRS, I think Perikatan is done. So Aku survived, despite quitting PH, or maybe because they quit PH in the last minute. Aku got 3 seats, and good job to them. With 3 seats, they landed the Deputy Chief Minister position. So not bad. But basically, you also had 5 independents win. I mean, Sabah is also the place where the independents have the highest chance to winning. I mean, if you talk about Selangor, KL, Mahal, virtually no chance for the independent to win. Sabah has always been the place where the independent has a bigger chance. I mean, nonetheless, small chance, but a bigger chance than the rest of the country to win as an independent. So you have 5 independents with 1. Well, we'll see where they go from here. But because of the MP hopping law, there is a federal level that everyone assumes it may also apply in Sabah, but actually Sabah did sign up to the anti-hopping law. So we'll see what happens.
Ooh, that's a good reminder.
Yes. So that's basically the results. So
yeah. Maybe before that, let me just add on one thing, quite interesting, some fun facts to throw in, right? For me, the first fun fact was that this time there are 596 candidates. Yeah. And then there's only 73 seats. So if you do the math, average per seat is 8 contestants. So that is crazy. I mean, usually in Semenanjung, if you see like...
So 1 to 1 fight.
You see like 3 or 4 already, it's a bit too crowded. You're talking about 8 by average. So plus minus, like you say, some seats has 10, 30 even, right?
Up to 14.
Which is crazy. I think number 2, while PN is, pass is part of PN here, but when it's there, for the first time ever, we are hearing pass winning a seat.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite crazy. Now, because Sabah Sarawak has always been a very, let's not bring religion into politics kind of place, right?
Yes.
They have always said, we do not want a strong religion-based community. In that sense, not saying you don't respect, but I say like, not everyone should live happily together. And so it means that when pass actually means there's some sort of a change there, right? It means that there are people who are either willing to see pass as not a more polarized view kind of thing. To say that pass may not mean polarized view. It's either that, or either the work done is so well done that people say, you know what, I don't mind, right? So this is quite interesting that. And definitely finally is DAP losing all the seat. I think that was a bomber. That's really, really bomber.
Alright, so let's maybe break it down. I think we got quite a number of tangents to go here if you want to talk about what happened in Sabah. But I think what sends shockwaves, especially here in West Malaysia, is the fact that DAP lost all the seats.
Yeah. So my question to you will be,
What do you think about it? Because I come into it. Let's hear the man on the street.
wow. For the man on the street here, it was shocking. It was just pure shocking. It is so shocking that really all the seats, all in all, right? It means that everyone has a unanimous agreement that you're not fitting to lead. So it is quite bad. Now, which is quite interesting because then I pull out a lot of the local communication. Like, for example, I put up Jesterton Times. I put up Borneo Post. I'll just read this one from Jesterton Times, right? This person's title article is this: an appeal to every Sabahan under sudut pendapat. So opinion, right? Before you cast a vote in the upcoming 17th Sabah state election. This person said this. Okay, this one is a Chinese, her name is called NGS Chin. Okay. And then say this. Sabah deserves leaders who truly understand her. For too long, decisions about Sabah have been influenced and dictated by powers far from our shores. Parties that fly in from outside, bringing along their own agenda, own priority, and their own set of expectation and instruction. They do not understand our culture, our identity, our daily struggle. Even their Sabahan representative cannot move without waiting for approval from their bosses across the sea. Is that the kind of leader that Sabah deserves? A leader who must ask for permission before helping his own people. We cannot afford puppet in a time that we need protectors. So I thought, wow, if this kind of article is circulating around, that speaks a lot. Well, I think personal opinion.
I think you found the first main reason, first point. I think the first factor is Sabah or Sabah sentiment. It's not the new sentiment. It's been brewing for some time, and I think this is definitely period of time where it is definitely escalated. That is definitely a valid reason. I've been talking to colleagues of mine in campaigning in different parts of Sabah just to see what they felt, what they thought. So far, there's something resonating from everyone who was going to campaign over there at the Sabah Pasar. I mean, on a personal note, I would dispute how she portrayed the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, I know my analytics over there. I've known some of them for more than 10 years. This social that they need to get permission from KL before they can make a decision, before they can help their people. That's absolute fallacy. First of all, in terms of what you do within your state, within your constituency, is really in your hands. It's not something that you need to wait for ABHP. I've been an adult for 3 terms now. I've never needed to get DABHP permission for any of the initiatives I've done to help my constituency PJ. And the same goes for them in Sabah. In fact, a lot of them are very proactive. I don't think it's fair to pay them like they need permission to do something. They need permission to act on something. I think it's better to engage them on what they did or did not do. Like, why didn't you solve this problem? Or what is your prescription for this problem? Because I can hardly think of anything, I cannot think of anything that was blocked by KL. Like, if you wanted to improve the water infrastructure, go ahead, do it. You wanted to improve something with the roads, go ahead. You wanted to upgrade the drainage in certain parts of any town in Sabah, go ahead. I cannot imagine any DAD leader in KL saying like, nah, I think that one, it's just too much, too far. I think we should hold back a bit. It's just not something I've come to know in this party that I've been in for so many years. Yeah. So, look, I don't think that part is true. But the sentiment of Sabah, or Sabahans is quite true. That is something you can feel. If you walk around Sabah, if you talk to locals, it is brewing. It is the perception that as long as Sabah is not led by local parties, then the future of Sabah will go nowhere. I also dispute that. I also think that it's time to look at each party's agenda for the state and to see that. But this is not about me campaigning. Election is over. This is about now seeing what happened. And I think that's a very important factor to consider moving forward. So, but in the case of Sabah, even if it, let's say, comes down to a GRS versus Warisan in the long run, or at least in the next 20 years, yeah, it's maybe an updated democracy for them. If they want to go down that road, then it may be difficult for Malayan parties headquarters in KL. So, not just DAB, but you saw AH was wiped out, only 1 seat. Yeah. And PN also pretty much wiped out, only 6 seats left.
Yeah.
Perikatan won 1 seat for the first time it passed, but they also lost all the rest 2 seats. So Perikatan also plummeted in performance. Basically, the national parties did badly. It was really the election that pushed all the local parties in front.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. It's across the board. All the national parties did badly. Yeah. So the only one that maybe among all the national parties the one to celebrate is us. But other than that, all the national parties did badly. Yeah. So that's sobering, and that's something to be mindful. And maybe like how it is seen in Sarawak, maybe there's at the moment only room for Sabah big players in Sabah elections, maybe for the next 2 cycles.
I was wondering, right? So we said that all the other parties also did badly, I agree.
Yeah.
But if I'm not wrong, DAP did worse, right?
Yeah.
Not even 1 seat, right? I'm sorry, at least 1 seat.
seat.
So not 1 seat. So how was it like on ground? I bet you had group chats, people talk, right? So how was it like the first day when you hear this news? Please share with us.
I think if you look at the leaders, so when I was part of the manifesto meetings, I was included for the PH manifesto discussions that happened before the elections, in the weeks leading up to the elections. And from that, even then, like 2-3 weeks before the nomination day, before the election period started, there was already a sense that, it's not what it is. It is not a sure thing. Daily acted the fight with 6 incumbents and 2 new seats. So let's not count Kamabong and Tajumaru. If never won back before, he was going into new ground. But I think what the expectation of the general public is that Kamabong has no chance of winning. no matter what anyone wants to say. There was no chance of picking up the seat. Tanjong Aru was also very difficult and very unlikely to win. And the other 6 seats was where we should have won. We could have won. But even then, out of the 6 seats, there was even maybe as bad as just winning 2 seats leading up to the elections. So if you talk about whether was that awareness that we are moving into a troubled fight, yes. If we did not go into the fight, actually. But a lot of supporters were maybe used to the fact that since defeated in DAP, sure we won. All the Chinese seats, sure we won. So this is a position which I think we shouldn't take for granted. In fact, I personally never took that for granted. If you saw my 2013, 2018, and even 2023 election, while everyone said Poking are saying sure we don't take for granted. You not only work hard during the election, you work hard in the 5 years in between the election to not take it for granted. I don't think my colleagues in Sabah took it for granted, but there was also a realization that actually this is not an easy fight, and we will suffer some casualties. We already realized that Tawau wasn't easy to win. Sandakan also was not easy. KK was the one which seemed like most likely the 2 seats under the parliament. Kota Kinabalu, Nikas and Guya are probably the most likely to retain, but it was really, really going to be tough for everything else. So clearly there was a Chinese swing. Warisan swept all the Chinese seats. In fact, in the current coalition, there's only one Chinese, Ben Chong, that won under the GRS ticket. But the Faraman Musik, all the Chinese candidates, all for PKI, basically Warisan swept all the Chinese seats. So maybe also GB is not Salah well to fight against the power that he to speak up when Islam right to speak up. So, well, why is the Sabah or Sabahan? The second one, which I think also affected very much, was this endless revelations of corruption with the current Sabah government. And, I think that Chinese, not just in Sabah, or Chinese all over Malaysia, do not like to stomach that. Are likely to vote opposition in the face of blatant misuse of power and blatant corruption. What do you think? Do you think that played a part? Did you hear a lot of that in your chatters?
I think that definitely was one of the things. But having said that as well, I think there's just this whole sentiment that, like you said, the Sabah for Sabahan, that was very strong. And with that, it kind of leads into, because you're not part of us, you don't take us seriously, nor are you really trying to be here to help. Now, definitely here, my question back will be, while there's a very strong sentiment of Sabah Sabahan, but it's not look like the first time that DAP or any other party dealt with it. In fact, the very day the Semenanjung party went over, it was already this sentiment.
Maybe not the very day. I'm not too sure how it was in the 60s and 70s, but possibly not. But that's good.
But I'm not saying that it's in the last 50 years for sure. There is already this sentiment, right? And Sabahan, or actually generally, Borneo always felt that their Borneo and Semenanjung is Semenanjung. That always very apparent. Forget about politics. Business also feel the same. Yeah. So the very fact that DAP could have overcome that, or any other party could have overcome that and won a seat there for a while, has to do with part of when I spoke to the locals. Generally, it is they feel that they are doing something. But this time around, the swing is so strong that they feel like the Semenanjung parties are not doing anything. Now, definitely there is element of exaggeration. There's element of emotions. But my question perhaps is, why it can swing so bad? There has to be some sort of a solid thing that people can hold on to and say, look, that is the reason why, right?
Okay, so one way to say is it swung so bad. Another way to say it is that the Chinese vote just swung. And when the Chinese vote swung, the 6 seats go their side. And then when the Chinese vote swing again, the 6 seats will come back their side. So maybe that's also another way to look at it. The Chinese vote swung. Chinese vote changes opinion. Same thing happened in the rest of the country. From 2004 to 2008, the Chinese vote just swung. Suddenly MCA went from having a lot of seats to having no seats. So it was the same thing. The change may not happen 20% by 20% by 20%. It seems like when it comes to the Chinese vote in the last 20 years, they either all go left or they all go right. To get them to split half, maybe will not be likely, considering the sentiments that lead to, whichever direction the vote goes. I think where you have the vote share dropping and putting seats at risk is that they are disillusioned. They have lost hope, lost confidence. So the voter turnout is much less. Nobody goes back to the old town to cast their vote. Then the vote share drops. But the hosts will still vote. So that's what happened like in the state elections. Look at what happened in 2023. The voter turnout for Sabah in 2023 was lower than what it normally is for parliament elections. Less people came back to vote. But those who actually came back to vote still voted Arab. But less people came back. Less people made the effort to go and vote because disillusioned, disenfranchised, disappointed. So they didn't come back to vote. But if you went to vote, you still voted Arab. You did not vote for PKP.
Right.
Yeah. Over there, it was different. It was not like they were disappointed, so they just did go out and vote. Then the vote share drops. Then the seat, which has a lower amount of Chinese, can't carry through. Then it was different. The Chinese changed the vote. The Chinese decided that they'll vote for Warisan in this election. And yeah, the Sabah Masawahan, and as well as probably his DAP didn't do enough. They really didn't do enough in Hong. So it's probably an action against GRS as well, against the government. You've got the philosophical part, corruption, and then you've got the other part. The feedback that I've gotten is also that dissatisfaction with the government performance. Like in Sandakan, 10 days of no water breakdown, electricity breakdown. Nearly every T20 house in Sandakan has big water tank reserves and a backup generator. The services of government to the people are not doing well. Roads are not good. And when you're not happy with the government's performance, it's easy for the opposition to swing the narrative in their favor. And mind you, the main Chinese leaders in Warisan are all ex-DAP. And they've won the seats before for DAP in 2013, 2018. So they know the game. They went against the big bad BN. And got the Chinese on their side to go against the big bad.
Right.
Then they all jumped to Warisan.
Right.
So now they got the Chinese to go against the big bad GRS. And so does it then make a bit more sense why they succeeded? I mean, these are the people with track record of having doing that. Your Sandakan, both the candidates, both the DAP candidates were fighting against incumbents, the former DAP candidates. So Frankie in Tanjung Papat and Kelvin in Edopura, they won on the DAP ticket the last election, 2020. So they swung the public. They educated the public. They got the public to rally against the big bad BN back in 2018. Now they got the public to rally against the big bad GRS. So if you look at it from that perspective, this is not something that is replicable in the rest of the country because this is a situation maybe unique to Sabah. So we don't have this similar situation in other states in this country where, the incumbents who won the last election all swung to the other side in this election. So that is one advantage that Warisan has in this election.
Yeah.
So that's also one way to look at it. But notwithstanding that, I think it's definitely a wake up call. It's a wake up call to not take the Chinese sentiment for granted, to not feel that because there's a green wave threat, that Chinese will always stick with DAP, with Harapan, no matter what. I think two problems are. One is the general delivery of promises or general performance of government cannot underscore the importance that we must give people the confidence that this government is doing well. So this one is very subjective. In the mood can change from month to month. Mood can change based on what policy or how you are affected by it. If you're a lorry driver, you're probably very angry with the government now with all the enforcement that is happening. But if you're in another business, if you're in solar business, you might be quite happy with how things are going, or if you're tourism, you might require every outfit check with. So this one is when we split across the board. And then the main thing that shook Malaysian politics, 1MDB, corruption, this is always going to be a very important criteria, a very important play. And if people start perceiving that Baladi is no better than previous governments, if people are perceiving that DAP is in cahoots with those who are corrupt, even though DAP ministers are never blamed or DAP ministers are never arrested for corruption. So mind you, if we look at Sabah, the expose after expose after expose, pretty much every political party kena. Except, you see, DAP no one kena. We had minister, we have assistant minister, we have, assemblyman, we have DAP appointees in GLCs in Sabah, but no one implicated. But a lot of other ordinary adults across GRS were implicated. Not just ministers, even ordinary adults implicated. But none of the DAP adults were implicated. None of the DAP politicians, elected or non-elected, were implicated. Sometimes, maybe just being clean yourself is not enough. Maybe when you stand hand to hand in the government with someone who's not clean, that also punishes you. That also. So, I think this is a difficult decision that the DAP leaders have to take now. Do we, continue to do our best in our portfolios? We'll never dominate any government outside of Penang. Penang, yes, we are the chief minister, they got the most amount of expos. Anything in Penang, hold the accountable. But outside of Penang, you're always a minority party. The Brisbane Villa, Perak, any government that there's DAP expo in it, we are still the minority. We are never the chief, we're never the prime minister, never the predecessor. We will never have the majority of expos. We'll always be a minority party. Even in the previous Sabah election, we only have one full minister. So, being the minority partner, you can influence decisions. Of course, in cabinet meetings, you can advocate that, no, don't do this, it will anger the community. You can influence it. I believe DAP leaders have been successful influencing decisions all year round. But no one sees that because you're not privy to what arguments that happen in cabinet. What people can see is, this is happening, that is happening, are you speaking up against it? Why is DAP silent? And so this is a difficult decision to take. But I think after Sabah elections, people will be more understanding, or at least our coalition partners will be more understanding if DAP is more vocal. And I think maybe DAP has to be more vocal against corruption.
Yeah.
Anything to do with good governance has to be more vocal. For example, when Shamsul was implicated, rather than defending Shamsul, you should have condemned any acts of corruption. Maybe we don't have to throw him under the bus because he's not proven guilty yet. But we should not stand with anyone who's corrupt. We should condemn. If this is found to be true, action must be taken. Call on MACC to act without fear and favor and take full action against all these people, rather than keep quiet. So maybe this will change. And I understand tonight as well, the CEC meeting happening. I'm sure all this will be heavily emotionally divided. Yeah, for sure. But it's not going to be easy moving forward because if you want to take vocal positions against your friends, your partner, it's not easy because you have to keep working with them every day.
Yeah. So this is where I want to share my right point of view, right? Forget about DAP first.
Okay.
Let's just remember the time before DAP was even Soming Party, right? When we talk about BN, we always hear MCS say this one thing.
Yeah.
You never see us fight you never see us voice out because we need to be in alignment with our government. It's not I don't care. You don't know how hard we fight for that. Everyone tell me that.
Yeah.
So I find a very similar argument that so DAP after that definitely right on it and say, you sure or not? And today DAP in a very similar situation.
Yes.
That's number one.
Yes.
Yeah. And Anthony Loke's stand has always been it's very like and this one thing apart of DAP. DAP is a bit like military.
Okay.
Yeah. Walk. Stand up. Jump. Everyone must follow a certain set of rules, right? You can fight, but don't bring it outside, right?
So,
okay.
I follow what you're saying.
Compared to other parties, it is definitely one of the most disciplined party that you're seeing. Right? Everyone got their own tala. There are some people who stay out of line also. There are some predator, there are some plan, blah. Whatever that comes, right? But my point is that it is definitely the most disciplined party that you can see.
Okay.
Now, naturally, it breeds at this point right now is that we are with the government. Let's not criticize too much our thing. And the answer to the public is always at the back, we are going to do something. And that just sounds oddly similar to how NCA started. Right? I bet it was the same proposition. Right? Like it or not, there's the other part. Right? I can understand the dilemma. Speaking up doesn't mean that I need to be sensational about it. Right? And this is what generally people, or I would say many DAP leaders are against when you sensationalize something. To just make a statement and say, no, this is wrong, let's go after it. End of story. Unfortunately,
actually, it's not whether the DAP leader wants to sensationalize it or not. The minute you say one sentence, everyone else will sensationalize it.
Correct. So my point is this. Number one, that one is all within DAP's control. Yes, some are within DAP's control, like how I'm going to say it as well. But on the other hand, just like you mentioned earlier, DAP is a minority party, although it has the most votes, but it behaves like a minority party.
It doesn't have the most votes. It's still a minority party. I mean, look at Anwar's government, 114 MPs are part of the Madani government. DAP is 40. It is not even half of the 140.
Okay, fair.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's a very big party.
Yeah, 40 is big, but it is still 40 out of 222 seats.
But is it one of the biggest party among all the parties?
Yes, it's the second biggest party after PAS.
That's right. It's the second biggest party after PAS.
But it is still not even 50% of the government.
Doesn't matter. But the way it behaves, it doesn't speak out like a big party. It tends to be more reserved. It tends to be, let's just keep our head low and do our job. That is a very DAP style that so far that I mean. And it is a value that's being embraced. Nothing good, nothing bad. Again, I'm not saying good or bad. In fact, I think they're good for me as a business person.
I think to be fair, it is also across the board because every other party in government is not speaking out against the government.
I'm correct.
It is not that anyone has a better track record of speaking out against their own government.
But let me pause it there.
Yes.
They are not as big. So naturally, in other people's opinion, is that the whole nation supported a party. I expect you to speak for the nation. And can't help one. As a rakyat, I'll put it this way. I'm just looking at the thing, right? I will ask myself, who's the biggest party? Should the biggest party behave like a bigger party? Like that. And that's how people naturally think. Naturally.
And you know what? I don't blame anyone. I don't blame any bell on the street for feeling like that. Sometimes when we face the situation, we just have to find a way to deal with it. So, and I myself have my frustrations. I'm not in cabinet meeting. I'm also not there to listen to it. But I have also more understanding of how you need to navigate because if you want every issue, you have to choose a path. Okay, you want to solve it internally or you want to blow it up.
Correct.
Blow it up means most likely cannot solve anymore after that.
Wait, let me finish that.
Okay.
My point is, and I think the people has chosen how to solve it, which is in their opinion is you shouldn't be here. And because it is so unique that in Sabah, they don't identify as Chinese. They identify as Sabahan. I'm a Sabahan. That's how they see it. Generally, their sentiment is very strong. Right? So now there's a warisan. I will skip over because there's one more. Now, however, let's not forget PAS won a seat.
Yes.
PAS won a historic seat. No. So, but before we go to that, right, my point that I want to say is that relating back to it and having conversations, and then last week we talked about how do I feel as an adult, right? I think, like I mentioned, DAP is in a changing state. And I'm starting to see that DAP is still adapting on that adult level plus federal level. I bet some of our colleagues will disagree, some of them will agree. Generally, everything on faction and camps are black camps are. Everyone feels different. But I think that this could be part of the reason. Because if each of the adult because Abdul is groundwork, right? When you look at it, Abdul is groundwork.
Okay.
And my thoughts are, when I observe it, it looks like to me that the groundwork of the incumbent party doesn't provide enough evidence for the people to continue voting for the same thing. Yeah. And that, it may not be true, it's just feelings, right? Feelings. Yeah, but this is how the people feel that, because it's not too obvious of what's being done, right? There's not too obvious of it, and partially also it gives that nothing for you to shout when people say Sabah is our aunt and stuff like that. And so I think maybe one thing that DAP need to think about, or even other parties need to think about in the Sabah side, is really the message to carry through lah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think sometimes political party, from what I've seen, they only have a very consistent message from start to the end when there's an enemy. When there's no enemy, right, I think they don't have a consistent message, right? They just swings accordingly.
This is what we spoke about a few days ago.
That's
We
right.
spoke about having that call to action, that purpose of existence. Yeah. So it is beyond just fighting against one issue, because now there's no more that one issue, that all of existence. Right, Peter. So how do we move forward then? How do you see, or what do you want to recommend to DAP and Harapan in general?
I don't think I can recommend anything, because I'm definitely not in any. I'm not a party man,
Okay.
nor am I a political guy. I'm just a rakyat.
Oh, don't worry. Like, over WhatsApp, I've 500 political consultants and facing me.
No, I bet whatever I say is you guys have thought about it, and there are all holes that you'll see, right? But I think as a raga, what we said last week, if you haven't watched it, please don't watch it. I do notice two things lah.
Okay.
Number one, DAP is so used to having a person a reason to fight, that today there's no centralized message. That's number one already, right? And when you have no centralized message, the only way is either you react to other people's message, or either everyone has their own message. Now, and when everyone has their own message, you will be a big party that behave like a small party, because voices are not strong. And that's what I mean by that. There's no united message going out and say, we agree, disagree, we sound it out. It doesn't matter whether it's sensational, right? It's to lead that voice. For example, if I lead my voice against corruption, right? If I hear an alliance party who actually have that issue, I should be leading that call to have a fair case against this person, not just a very small statement. Yeah, we disagree with it. When you just have the small statement, you'll be able to have a small party. Because you need the big voice. So the key is that you have the big voice, right? And that's something that, in fact, the more, after I talked to you the other day, the more I think about it, the more I thought of right. Okay. The second thing is, I can't help but this is just general management, right? Whenever big organization change, things change. And when things change, if you don't manage the succession properly, and you don't manage the people properly, people get demotivated. And I'm not surprised that probably there is a portion of DAP members who are dissatisfied. Now, however, I know the answer to that is there's always someone dissatisfied. You are right. But I think this time the dissatisfaction is a little bit different. You better deal with it. And this dissatisfaction is not like last time like that, the complaint kind. This is really people who are contributing last time could be. People who plays a very important role. Because you're talking about incumbents who lost, right? I bet the problem is a middle management problem. If during my organization, this is quite clearly a middle management problem. It's not an executive level of blame problem. It's a middle management problem, which need to be swiftly dealt with. Either you change them, or either you make sure you clarify and bring them on board again so they can run as a team. Now, this is where my theory is on why past fail.
Okay.
Past never change. They do the exact same thing that you do. They work from ground up. That's all.
Well, okay. So,
maybe you can share with us.
maybe we bring a close to the DAP conversation, and then you look into some interesting analysis on.
So this is my thought on past. This is my thought theory. at this point.
Yeah. I don't think it's so much of the change of guard in response to what you said. I think the first one is the overwhelming part. I think the direction and whatever that disillusions the public is also going to disillusion the DAP member. We got CC, which is why people, they are in the know. They are the ones deliberating the decisions and the direction of the party. Then the 200,000 to 300,000 members, they are just as informed as the men on the street. So in terms of the communication, the disillusionment, we live in the social media age, so everything that 200,000 DAP members know, actually everyone knows if they care to read about it or listen to it. So I think it comes down to the first part. Where do we stand as a party? What are we going to do as a party? What are we going to call for as a party? And I think that's something that from tonight, in the CEC meeting tonight, in the coming months, it's going to be heavily debated among the leaders, and we've got to hopefully come to a decision and not just float along with the same way we've been running the last 1 year. So I think I think we've covered quite a bit. Yeah. I think maybe start something interesting.
Last one, just in case you're thinking like, I think DAP sucks right now. No. I think DAP is still a very solid party. But what I'm trying to say is that there is a change of environment, and I do think that change of environment, there are certain things to pay attention to, which I think they're probably doing it already.
So the fortunate part for DAP outside Sabah is we do not have a warisan in the rest of the country.
Correct.
We have a Muda. They're really not playing the part Warisan is playing.
Yeah.
I don't know if they will wake up and realize this, but maybe after today's podcast they might. Yeah. But the MCA could have played the role. Because they were the recipient of this. They were arguing in the cabinet, and so you don't see what we're fighting. And then when they could turn the guns around, but they didn't. They chose not to. And either they don't know how to, or actually they were not really fighting in Sabah. And it was not quite the same scenario.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason there isn't a warisan in the rest of the country. But this is the real trend.
This is the rest. DAP was the warisan and won already.
The thing is, once DAP becomes government, then there needs to be a third force to rise up. So your first force, then the second force kill the first force. Now it's time for the third force's count and hold the second force to account.
Yes.
The third force is rising. But DAP may be strong for as long as there's still the force. Because when people look between Perikatan and DAP, either they don't bother to vote, they feel like I'm too tired to care anymore, or if they actually come to the ballot box and cast the vote, I think they'll find it very hard to still vote for Perikatan. So this is why DAP will still prevail. Still has been prevailing, but the love has definitely diminished. Now the thing is, if there's a fiery warisan that rises up in the rest of the country, then DAP is not there. So this is the thing. Does carrying on to be the firing warisan in the rest of the country? Doesn't seem like it. Does anyone else want to rise up to be that fiery warisan in the rest of the country? Doesn't look like there is a candidate at the moment. So this is where DAP may be not so badly affected in the rest of the country as it was in Sabah. But it doesn't mean complacency. I think every lesson from Sabah needs to be applied to the rest of the country right now.
Yeah.
Alright, let's move on to a couple of things. Let's deal with the fun fact of past.
What did you say on this?
Yes. On the surface level, you can say he only won with 365 votes. I think that's not the focus. He's the past head of Sabah. He was the adun lantikan. So, in Sabah, you get the point up to 6 adun lantikan. Right. So, whoever the winning party is can co-opt 6 more aduns into the state assembly. And so when Perikatan won in 2020, he was co-opted into the state assembly. And so he's actually been adun for the last 5 years. So that gives him some standing, some resources to move. He is also probably focused only on one seat. And actually in both Sabah and Sarawak, we've seen this in the last 50 years. Both Sabah and Sarawak, all the past resources in the state is centered on one seat to try to make the breakthrough. So is Pete Maru, the seat in Sarawak, that is very vast, has been focusing solely on, and it is Karangudai in Sabah, where they'll be focusing on. So it wouldn't surprise me, although we don't have data back here, how many PAS supporters throughout the rest of Sabah, its the country, could have been slowly moving their voting location to this seat to help pick the balance. That's one. But second of all, because of the nature of this round of elections, this seat is one of those which had 11 qualified.
Yeah.
In the 11 qualified, no doubt PAS won, but PAS won with 27%. So by, I think, most election standards, generally you can never beat the 27%. If, let's say, a number of the other parties got together, maintaining the fact that they were once upon a time all in alliance, because, once upon a time, a lot of these parties were under the one umbrella, under GRS. GRS also been, star-left. They broke up before the elections. If all this breaking up didn't happen, and the main parties consolidated their strength together, then I don't think PAS would have been the victory. The 27% that PAS got is the PAS Akor. Then everybody else who chose anyone else is unlikely to have chosen PAS if they are, let's say GRS and DN 3 qualify everywhere. I'm sure the GRS and the DN candidate would have, supporters would have voted for each other rather than voting for PAS. The nature of Sabah, as you said, they're not likely to support PAS if they are not into PAS's ideology. I think it holds true. But the fact that DN and GRS split, so DN and GRS, the vote combined, beat PAS by 3,000 votes.
Yeah.
But because they split, they didn't get the eye together, PAS got through. Warisan also, just slightly less than PAS votes. But once again, if any of the one of the other parties stood down, I think the votes would have transferred to Warisan, and Warisan would have won the seat.
Yeah.
So, mainly PAS down that PAS for sure has been working very hard on this seat. But I think it's a mix of it's working very hard. And it also got lucky with the split fight.
Yeah.
So this may be a short-lived victory. If the next round election, it comes down to a two-horse race. Everyone goes into two big alliance, a Warisan alliance and a GRS alliance, and we don't have 11 qualified or let alone even 4 qualified. I think it'll be really difficult for PAS to continue to retain the seat.
Yeah.
And mind you, now PAS is going to run the seat as an opposition party.
Yeah.
So PAS is not going to have access to government resources because this is the nature of how Malaysian politics work. No peruntukan kawasan, no other access to government departments. The residents in this constituency is going to expect him to solve the problems. Whereas previously, he can always point the finger on the government adun and say, you're not doing a good job. Remember, that's much easier to do. But now you're all the seat that people come to you and know that that road hasn't been repaired in 3 months. And then what are you doing about it? Elected you. That problem hasn't been fixed and that problem hasn't been fixed. It won't be easy for him to sustain these coming 5 years and to retain the seat if we don't have a level qualified the next round. So that's a little bit of insight into what happened in the past. Won the seat, credit to them, but won the seat with 37% of the vote, not even 40% of the vote.
Yeah.
All right.
So maybe I'll share my opinion on that, right? I still don't change my opinion that they've done their work.
They've done their work.
Yeah, and
they thought they cannot get 7,000 votes.
Correct. So my point is this, right? This is what I realized about PAS. From last time I done on PAS mentioned they're still PAS. From a very long time until
technically, you see, once they got to the federal government, they start talking about Kudu.
My point is this, right? My point is this.
Okay.
But for a very long time, right, PAS is still PAS.
Okay.
They have operated as an opposition. And almost everyone that I talk to, right, will always tell me this thing, right? Just like we talked to last week also.
Yeah.
The 1/3 of people will support you. 1/3 of the population will support. 1/3 of the population will never vote for you. 1/3 is a swinging states, right? Or the swinging votes. Those are ones they want to convey, right?
Yeah.
So in any strategy, the number one thing is to protect your own bases up. And I think PAS has done a very good job in protecting their base across the years. Now also, they've not gone through what DAP did, which is now becoming a government, right? DAP did very well in that for a very long time. What am I trying to say is, I think this is where DAP is losing a bit of ground at this point. That's number one. Mainly because of the way it's being communicated. And then also in Sabah, like you say, suddenly there's a very strong WhatsApp, right? That's the problem, right? And number two is that while everyone can predict past being that always constant one third, which means there will be always a strong voice, but they'll never take over. I do not know, right? But over history of many, many empires, we have seen people who remain as that, and when being too underestimated, suddenly rise up. I don't know.
I don't underestimate past on the national level. Maybe at Sabah level, but not at national level.
Yeah. So then my point is that at the end of the day, never know, never know. Yeah, because sometimes you don't need to be the best. You just need your opponent to be shit. And that's the Sabah case right now, huh? The opponent is shit. So that could swing everything around, huh? And once you swing that, you inch in on territory. And when you inch in on territory, your influence become bigger. That's how it works, right? Okay. So those are part of my thoughts. Okay.
Alright. I think we should move on to the third, maybe the final dimension. I think this is one of the fastest cabinet ever swapped in, ever chosen after an election. We are less than 48 hours from the results, and not only has Haji been sworn in as Chief Minister, the whole cabinet lineup has been released already. So this is one of the fastest ever.
Oh, wow.
But I think it also brings some stability. If not, the horse trading will continue on, and maybe people try to pull each other support to swing assemblymen to support another government option. So the good part is kudos, very fast to announce. GRS is the big winner, taking the lion's share of the cabinet, but giving the sole Harapan candidate one ministership. APCO gets the DCM, and BN gets one candidate. So the alliance between GRS, BN, PH continues on. Now it's GRS, BN, PH, APCO. And including the independents, we are not very sure where the independents stand. Although a lot of newspapers report that the independents support the government of the day, the fact that none of them were appointed to the cabinet, maybe that's still to be tested. But it won't be surprising that a lot of people will swing in support of the government once the government is established, because it's very difficult to be an assemblyman in Sabah if you don't have access to government resources. So the temptation to swing and publicly declare support for whoever the chief minister is high, because that gives you access. That gives you access to those resources. Interesting to note that, so the promise that GRS made before the elections that one Chinese DCM will be appointed, looks like it's not kept, because all three DCMs have been named. And in fact, no Chinese has been named into the cabinet. No doubt. In the government batch, there's only one Chinese at the moment, Ben Chong. But remember, there's 6 Adul Lantikan. So there's actually space to appoint Chinese into cabinet through this Adul Lantikan procedure. Even if, let's say, DAP in tonight's CC meeting decides to turn down any Adul Lantikan offer, there's still other options to appoint Chinese into the cabinet by using this route. If not, this will be maybe the first cabinet that Sabah has, or one of the rare state governments in this country to not have any Chinese representative at all. So, and that's one interesting thing to note. Other than that, it's quite balanced among the different ethnic groups in Sabah, as well as the different religious groups in Sabah, except for one notable exception, the Chinese Hispanic. So we'll see whether that changes in the next few days. I think he adds on the Chinese minister. But yeah, at least the government is chosen. Politicking will be at super high speed and everyone lobbying, I will support you in government if you give me DCR. You don't give me, I'll make minister. I think the end would have insisted on more ministerships, or maybe even the DCR. But we announce this and you're like, yeah, so well, you want to go, you go. But I think the way is going to procure. I think they're all going to stay. So this is where it is. I think this adds a difficulty to DAP, because the sole PH candidate from PKR has been appointed into cabinet. And because PH always moves as one PH, that means how can DAP play a role of opposition to the current state government? It will be difficult. So if DAP doesn't play a role as opposition to the state government, then what would DAP's voice be in the coming months? Will DAP speak up against the government, reprimanding the government on things that they feel the government is doing wrong? Or would DAP continue promoting the successes of this government? Which, if it does, I think it's not going to go anywhere to regain the ground lost to Morrison. It adds an element of dilemma. Now, if PK was excluded from the cabinet, the PSGR say like, you only got one seat, so I exclude you from the cabinet, which is very fair. You only got one seat, right? Then, different. Then, it might give an easier room for AG to play the role of opposition in the state. And if DAP starts playing the role of opposition in the state, I think it could gain back that lost crowd. Yeah. So it kind of jams the DAP leaders in Sabah. I think it's going to be a very difficult dilemma in the next few weeks to decide how to position themselves moving forward.
I think, like you say, right? If they have a united message, then everything can go from that angle to talk.
Yeah. But I think in the case of Sabah, a united message that is not speaking up against the government is going to be very hard to judge. Because any other united message, okay, we'll be the party to fix the water problems. I think people are going to say, like, no matter what, if you vote for your only 6 DAP adults, you're not going to make a difference of water. You're not going to make a difference to electricity. You're not going to make a difference to all the problems that you claim you want to solve if you're only going to give minority. DAP contested 8 with a realistic chance of winning 6 maximum. How to tell people that vote me in and I will change this in government? You'll always be the super minority party winning from home. Last round, only one full minister. So if you only have one full minister, how to make promises that vote for us, this is what we will change in government? They'll say, let's see if GRS say, don't know what. If GRS don't say, they say, it's what you see for the nationally, easier. Like I say, all these seats in parliament, second biggest party in parliament, easier to take on the goal nationally. Sabah a bit harder. So my sympathies with them won't be easy to chart their way forward. And in all fairness, I think even Sarawak has the same difficulty. It has not found its footing since 2022, where got into government together with GPS. Now, do we attack GPS every week? Do we not attack GPS every week? What do we do?
Because you also like government. Last time can. Last time government. Every day. It's a changing message.
But if you stop making them every day, then people don't vote for you anymore.
And that's all. The truth is sensationalized. The truth is people are not rational, right? So you need something for outlet law.
So this is a challenge for DAD in Sabah and Sarawak. It's also a challenge for the rest of Harapan and other national parties.
Yes, actually, yes.
In Sabah and Sarawak. But I think because the most successful national party in Sabah, Sarawak in the last 15 years was DAP, I think the biggest blow is also faced by DAD. PKR only 2 seats, then moves to 1 seat. People don't feel a difference. Amana never win before, now the win, people don't say anything. But I think because DAP from the strongest opposition state assembly, both in Sabah and Sarawak at one point, to now being reduced to 0 seats in Sabah, 2 seats in Sabah.
Yeah. So maybe since tonight DAP CC is gonna convene and as a party member, is there anything that you think your party should take note of?
I think the party should take note the sentiment of the Sabah for Sabah will only lead Sabah. But the rest of the sentiment, the performance of government, the strong opinionated voice is what people voted for. And we need to find a way to bring that back into the mix. And we need to find a way to transition the support from the strong opinionated voice to something else. Don't leave it floating in the air. People used to support us because we strongly oppose the big bad wolves. Now we cannot oppose the big bad wolf anymore because we're saying the wolf is a big good wolf. So, be a good Prime Minister. So now we need to find a way to rally the support towards a goal. Climate change, education, healthcare. We need to say that we are the party who wants to solve this. This is our ideas. We need your support. We need to get more seats in parliament to be able to push through this agenda because we are the one that are speaking up for it. We have gotten so far, but not far enough because we don't have yet enough support. You need to work for us to bring this agenda through the finish line. And I think this is what is needed. People voted for Trump to bring the jobs back to America. No one analyzed whether he would actually do it or not. But the sentiment, the purpose of existence. So what is the new purpose of existence? That must be made very clear. I think that is the biggest hope I have, that we walk out of this Sabah election creating the new purpose of existence, and that the hundreds of middle management leaders, as you call like the hundreds of FPs and hundreds of PAP has go spot and sells the single purpose of existence about it.
But this message will come with some criticism towards the current government.
For sure. You have to deal with that. We still need to march forward.
All right. Thank you very much, Rajiv.
All right, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. And if you have any comments as usual, please leave it. We'll love reading them.
See you guys. Thanks for you.
All right, see ya.